Hello! So, Nifty just released a video discussing something Npesta talked about in his Sane Sailor streams, and I sort of just wanted to weigh on this discussion, as both a passionate player and creator in GD. So, let's start from where this whole issue began. Npesta stated in his stream that he, quote, hates people complaining about levels, going on to say that, if you make a level for people to play, you shouldn't be upset that people give feedback about it. I will discuss his specific point further once I've given the proper context, but first I must talk about Nifty's response to this clip. She posted a video recently rebutting these points, saying, nobody is forcing you to play levels you don't like, expecting to like every level is unrealistic, there is no objective criteria for quality in art, and finally, if you don't like most of the levels you play in this game, you probably just don't like the game, and you should play something else. However, there is more to her video, and I'd like to speak about the way she created it. Both the thumbnail and title are strange. They seem particularly aggressive towards Npesta, especially considering this is just a one-off clip. Calling Npesta a loser in the same way Fox News makes their thumbnails isn't a great look, and neither is insinuating he treats artists like garbage. Nifty does give possible context as to why she made her video like this, saying it's just a mind dump. Which is fair, but I do think she should be more conscious in taking care about making overly inflammatory remarks about someone over such a small issue. Now, let's talk about Npesta's actual thoughts and where I fit into all of this.
What always pissed me off, and it's pissed me off my entire GD career, is when people complain about people complaining about levels. Because at the end of the day, if you make something, I think, especially if you make a GD extreme for people to play, you should listen to their feedback about it. Or at least not get mad at it. You don't have to listen to them, but you should be upset that they're giving their feedback about it. I've always fucking hated that.
While from a playing perspective, this does make sense. As a creator, I can say there's a lot more to this issue than Npesta seems to realize. On top of making levels for people to play, a large part of making levels is for self-expression, and people genuinely just make stuff because they like making it. Not because they like making the best thing they possibly could, they just enjoy creating, and then sharing their creations with other people. Obviously, critiquing something for having a mistake, or something you feel was made incorrectly, is perfectly valid. But calling something absolute garbage, a complete 0 out of 10, ignoring every positive aspect of the level, is pretty disingenuous, and it's unfortunately a sentiment that's far too common among top players. This sentiment also ignores the fact that some levels are made purely for the creator. When passion projects like these are rated, they're often subjected to unwanted criticism. When the creator did not create their level to be rated in the first place, they just made it because they wanted to. That shouldn't stop them from being able to share it with people. If they don't want criticism, then don't give it to them. Having your level lambasted for a seemingly small issue, or just because someone doesn't like the style, is incredibly demotivating. As a creator, it sometimes feels like you could be the best you could possibly be, and it just wouldn't even be close to enough, because there's always something to complain about. And whether or not their complaints are valid should be up to the creator, not the players. Because let's remember, these levels are free. This is volunteer work, purely done out of passion. The only exception to this being Cherry Team. And that's a whole other issue for another video. The final thing I'd like to say about this is that Npesta seems to conflate genuine criticism with the rampant harassment and just dogpiling a lot of creators face when they make a level people don't like. Even the most popular and polished levels have this issue. It genuinely seems inescapable as a creator. Split 72 makes some of the most consistent and fun, enjoyable levels I've played when I was star grinding. Anytime I saw their level in the featured tab, I was happy to play it, because I knew it was going to be fun, simple, easy to learn, and easy to beat. Just a good time. But people hate them, because they have a high number next to their name? It's ridiculous. Criticizing actual qualities of the level is far different from criticizing the creators for making stuff they personally don't like. And oftentimes, in mega collabs, the creators of individual parts are completely left out of the picture, and people will focus solely on the host as if they are the solo creator of the level, ignoring all the passion that went into each individual part. There is so much love that goes into all these Geometry Dash levels we get to play every day, and I genuinely think we should be more grateful. If you find yourself frustrated with the level, I genuinely implore you to just take a second and think about why you're frustrated, and then, once you've calmed down, write a comment, or maybe message them, explaining why that level frustrated you and what you think would fix it. This is the only way criticism should be handled, in my opinion. Everything else is just harassment. But that's the last thing I have to say about Npesta. Now it's time to move on to Nifty's video.
Under no circumstances complaining about someone else's level warranted. That is a bizarre thing to suggest. Nobody's forcing you to play levels that you don't like, so when you do it, it is completely your fault for making the conscious decision to subject yourself to it.
Alright, if this was talking about a player who is completely subjecting themselves to a level that they never enjoyed in the first place, this would make sense. But most levels are somewhere in the middle, where you do enjoy some parts of them, but other parts frustrate you to no end. So what do we do about that? I think, instead of completely throwing any criticism out the window, I believe saying your opinion is incredibly valuable to the creator, as it lets them make levels that other people will value more too. If you post your level to a game where people play your levels, you should expect people to play them. And if you made a mistake in the balancing, or if there's one part that just is really inconsistent, people should be able to point that out. I don't think this is nearly the same as the harassment creators get for just making a glow-styled level. Genuinely pointing out why you didn't like a level is not the same as calling their level shit for no reason. This brings me on to a different point. If you know Nifty, you would know that she is a very, very unique player. She's well known around the community for beating extraordinarily long levels and beating very monotonous challenges. This shows an incredible amount of determination and her ability to not get bored or frustrated when faced with a really, really annoying time. However, Nifty, if you're watching this, please be aware that is not the normal way people play this game. Most people that play this game do it because they genuinely want a fun gameplay experience. It's a lot harder to find fun in something otherwise boring than it is to actually just play a good level. Let's move on to the next point.
First of all, there are no objective criteria for quality in art. That is simply just factual. People naturally have different tastes as to what they prefer that are beyond their control, so insisting that people cater to your personalized standards is more or less just alienating them from self-expression. This logic also applies to the game itself. If you don't like most of the levels in the game, then you probably just don't like playing the game, so it's insane to suggest that the person who made it or any of the levels in it are at fault when you could just not play it as an alternative to treating them like garbage and calling their work shit. If the point of feedback is for them to make better levels, but there's not objective criteria for what makes a level good, then you're not actually being helpful by giving feedback when it's not wanted. People simply just shouldn't be pressured to make their levels have broad appeal, and to conflate having broad appeal or any other appeal other than what aligns with the subjective preference of the artist with what is good is just to discourage creative expression in the first place.
Here, Nifty says there is no objective criteria for quality in art, and that insisting someone cater to your own personal standards is stifling the creator's freedom. And while again, she may be on the right track, she's still missing additional context. There are general rules that game developers use to help make their players less frustrated at their game. Geometry Dash mixes both game design and art, and that's where I think Nifty misses a big point. A lot of players and creators make levels to be played. Not all, but a large enough amount that gameplay standards are a common thing in Geometry Dash. For example, a creator could make a level that has one part that's extremely unbalanced. While some people might find that fun and interesting, a hefty amount of people will just find that frustrating and dislike the level because of it. If the creator cares about their levels being played, they could do one of two things depending on how they made the level. If the bad balancing was unintentional, they could help fix the difficulty with the help of playtesters and update the level. And if that balancing was intended to be there as part of the creator's vision, they could help improve the impact of the part by changing decoration and making it seem intentionally harder, letting the player know that's the point of the level, not some accident. A creator's vision is very important, but how they get across that vision is just as vital. And players are naturally going to get frustrated at things that are hard for no reason. As a creator, I think everything is possible in this game. There are no set stone rules, but there are more effective ways to do things, and that's where criticism comes in. The more criticism you get, the more effectively you can display your vision, which will help both you as an artist and your art. It's a win-win. People like your stuff, and you like it more too. After all of this is said and done, all of us are still going to end up being frustrated by some levels. It's just going to happen. We're gonna curse the creator for making such an awful part, or we're gonna be frustrated that people find this decoration better than something you made. Everyone gets frustrated with other people's stuff sometimes. I have also been very angry at some platformer levels that I've played, but after I beat them, I always take into consideration everything about the level. It's never a 0 out of 10. Obviously after dying right at the end, or finally beating it after weeks of practice, you're gonna be emotional, and probably not consider all of these important things. But after that's all said and done, I think it's important to still acknowledge the good qualities of a level, because otherwise it can give people the impression that just insulting a level is perfectly valid, when it's not, even if sometimes you really want to do that. In the end, nobody's perfect, including me. I'm sure I've said many rude things towards some creators or their levels, but there's one thing I always do say, even if I hate a level. In case any of the creators is watching my stream, I always mention that I want them to continue making levels. That's incredibly important to me. I don't want anyone to stop doing what they love just because I had a bad experience with it. I just want them to take my criticisms and employ it in their future levels so I can enjoy them more. Anyways, this was just a random video I threw together in a couple hours. When I was watching Nifty's video, I was in the middle of writing a lengthy comment explaining all of these points, but she did mention at the end of the video she would just be deleting most of the comments, which is a choice, so I decided to make a video, so she hopefully actually watches it and considers my points. Either way, no hard feelings towards Npesta or Nifty. I think they're both fantastic creators. This is just my 2 cents. P.S. The platformer videos are coming soon. I promise they're coming soon. I promise I'm still editing.